But yes, it inspired a slew of other bands, typically in the metalcore genre. So, of course, this is a record that is hugely important. And it's a record that's a favorite of mine. You know, I grew up listening to that thing. I was introduced to it via Blinded by Fear being included in the Rock Band video game, and that song, impossible to play on drums for me, at least back then, but on guitar it was a lot of fun. And I enjoyed singing it too. And from there I got further into At the Gates discography, but Slaughter of the Soul always remained my favorite album, so I had to go see them for this performance. Now, I was jamming on that day. It was a Friday, so I ended up getting to the venue a little bit late, so I missed the opening band, Enforced. I have no idea what they sound like. I literally walked through the doors as they played the last fucking note of their set. Like I could hear them doing the big rock ending as I fucking was approaching the venue. And that fucking sucks, you know. I regret heavily the fact that I missed those guys. Because I really don't like when I end up missing bands when I'm going to see a fucking show. But after them, there was Municipal Waste. And Municipal Waste, I'm a huge fan of them. If you read my blog, where strides the behemoth.wordpress.com, you'll know that I haven't been a huge fan of the band's recent material. Like, it's good, it's not necessarily bad, it just feels kind of uninspired. But they played a few songs from their newest record, Electrified Brain, and, you know, they were fun, but of course they pulled out a bunch of fucking classics, including Wave of Death, which is always fun. You know, they came out and they fucking ripped it. They did their shtick. They had their fucking performance. It was about what you'd expect for a Municipal Waste show. I always find it entertaining to watch these guys live. You know, Tony Foresta, their vocalist, he has a lot of charisma on stage. He's a very, very good frontman. He's just cracking jokes the whole time and, you know, really trying to get the crowd into it. He just seems like a friendly dude that you want to have a beer with, and you know, I think metal could use a bit more of that instead of all the hyper serious shit all the time. And of course, Municipal Waste has been around the block for a really long time, so you know they know what they're doing. But after that, it was time for At the Gates to take the stage, and I was kind of surprised because they had a banner behind the stage that was actually the art for their most recent record. I think it's To Drink from the Night Itself. I think that's the name of it. But yeah, they had the banner for that, and I was kind of like, wait, this is supposed to be the tour for their 30th anniversary of Slaughter of the Soul. Why did they have the banner for this? So they came out, and they played a bunch of songs from that newest record, as well as a couple from the one before, and then they left the stage. And then the stagehands dropped that banner, and behind it was the Slaughter of the Soul banner, and that was like, okay. So they just wanted to, like, not play just that album, because it is a bit short. You know, it's like a 30-minute record. It's very quick, to the point. And I understand when, you know, you're a band that's been around for that fucking long, you don't just want to play like the fucking classics from like way back in the day. You want to be out there promoting your newest shit, the newest record that you dropped. You want to play songs from that. You want to encourage people to go buy that album because that's what you're doing now. It's relevant now. That's what you want people to support. But they did that, and then it was time for Slaughter of the Soul. And let me fucking tell you, hearing all of these songs played on this record from front to back, like, just fucking blew my goddamn mind. It was almost a very emotional experience. You know, by the end of the show, I think I was nearly in tears because of watching these songs that I grew up listening to, songs that were very, very important to me as my development into being a young metalhead performed. It was just, it was unreal. You know, it's almost hard to describe. I did actually recognize one of the guys in the band. One of their guitarists was the same guy who Atheist has recruited to be in their live touring act. So it was kind of funny seeing him again, despite the fact that I had seen him like literally a few months ago at a different venue playing with a completely different band. I forget the guy's name now. It's something. It is a Hispanic surname, but I forget the dude's actual name now. So yeah, they were fucking incredible. You know, this album is so fucking sick, and you know the fact that the drums were like just perfectly on time with, especially with a track as fast as Blinded by Fear, and you know the guitars were fucking on point. There was not a fucking missed note to be seen or heard. It was just tight as fuck, incredible. Every song was flawless, and what blew my mind the most about this whole performance is that at the end of the record there is a track which I'm blanking on the title of now. And it's basically an instrumental, and it sounds like something you'd hear in a video game. Like I always compare this song to the soundtrack for the early Ace Combat games, like Ace Combat 4 Shattered Skies or Ace Combat 5 The Unsung War. The soundtracks in those games, fucking badass. But the last track on this record is an instrumental track that sounds like it could be on the soundtrack for either of those games. And I fucking love that song. Despite it being a short instrumental that's technically the outro to the record, it's one of my favorite songs on the fucking album. It's just so good. It's so emotional. It's very well written. It's just a really, it's a solid chord progression that just like fucking hits you in the fucking soul, you know? And usually when there is a song like that on records, if a band is, playing an entire album, they'll just have that fucking song play over the PA while they leave the stage, and then the lights will come on, and that'll be the end of the show. Or maybe they'll do an encore. So imagine my surprise when they come out and they actually fucking play it. Their drummer comes out, their bassist comes out, and they fucking play it. And of course, they don't have a synth player, so that is playing over the PA. But these guys are actually fucking playing the drums and the bass to this song, and I'm like fucking losing my mind because like this is something that typically doesn't happen. And beyond that too, after like I think it's about like a minute into the track is when the guitars cut in, and it's a very simple, just like da 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 or something like that. It's a riff that's similar to that. They come out, both guitarists come out, and they fucking start playing that, and I'm like losing my shit. And then after that, the song ends with basically a bunch of like weird kind of industrial noise, similar to the way that the record begins, except it's like a lot more like it's like a fucked up radio transmission. That's kind of how it sounds. And they fucking play that shit too. Both the guitarists are standing there, and they're just fucking scraping the fucking pickups on the guitar, just like just making all kinds of fucking noise on that shit. And eventually, that in the song, it builds up to a point where you no longer hear the drums and the bass. So the drummer and the bassist, they get up and they fucking leave the stage, and it's just these two guys on the guitar just fucking scraping, making fucking noise. It's loud. It's loud as fuck, and I am like losing my mind watching these guys play this. And then they leave the stage. And then they fucking come back and they play the bonus track from the record too, which I forget the title of it. I think it's World of Lies or something like that. It's something along those lines. And they fucking played that too, and I was like not expecting that, because usually if a band is playing a full record, they're not going to include the goddamn bonus track that nobody really cares all that much about. But they did that too, and that's like just fucking true dedication to hardcore fans of this band and of that record. I have nothing but respect for At the Gates. They are one of the best bands in melodic death metal, period. I don't think anyone can dispute their legacy, and seeing this record played front to back was by far one of the best experiences I've had so far this year when it comes to live shows. I'm going to do a top 10 live shows list on Where Strides the Behemoth at the end of the year. And this one is definitely going to be up there, if not number one, because holy shit, what a fucking experience this was. Anyway, that's my video talking about seeing At the Gates play Slaughter of the Soul front to back, as well as Municipal Waste, and unfortunately Enforced, who I missed. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see more, please leave a like, maybe a comment, if you will. Maybe hit that subscribe button, because, that's the way YouTube works. You got to do the thing in order to get the channel to get bigger, blah, 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 blah. And, yeah, I will see you in the next one. Peace out.